Sampo and welcome to Dawai Kudroen. I have Mr. Tshering Dorji, who is the principal of Rinchen Higher Secondary School, a private school based here in Thimphu. So thank you once again for your time. We've been talking about, towards the later half of our Zangkha session, we've been talking about the teachers in your school, the quality of expatriate teachers, the ways and means that you bring them and recruit in your school. You also mentioned that it's imperative for your school to have as many Buddhist teachers as possible, and also you did manage to bring down the number of expatriate teachers. For now, a general question maybe, how adequately staffed is your school? I'm talking about the teaching faculty.
Yes. First of all, thank you once again for having me as your guest. For a reputed program like this, I only find it very difficult to qualify myself to be your guest, and I'm quite honored. As for your questions, at the moment and ever since the school started and being a private school, we have never had a situation where the teaching faculty has not been adequate.
Yes.
So we are quite adequately staffed, and in fact more than required.
Yes. So if you are adequately staffed, you also mentioned about some new recruits this year.
Yes.
And those are the ones who actually came looking for job opportunities in your school.
Yes.
The B.Ed graduates who actually unfortunately left without any employment opportunities. Of course, later, most of them were taken as contract teachers, teachers on contract. How many actually did your school manage to recruit?
Well, I wish we could have recruited as many as it was possible. However, it so happened that those B.Ed graduates were rendered jobless, so to say that, at a very critical point when we were going through recruitments. In fact, if we had received the information well ahead of time, we could have gone to the extent of going to the campus, the college campus, and recruiting teachers from there.
Yes.
Having a trained teacher, somebody like them, was quite a luxury until last year. But this year, we could have most definitely recruited some of those teachers, and we would love to have trained teachers, and particularly those who have been trained by the government was such a luxury. However, this has not happened, and I think unfortunately this batch of B.Ed graduates were rendered for a short period of time. Of course, like as you said, now they are absorbed in as contract teachers and community-based teachers and all, which is good for the time being. However, my own honest opinion regarding what had taken place for the B.Ed graduates, not to really offer any form of opposition, but for those of us who are involved in education, human resource planning, things like that, I thought it was quite an embarrassing moment to come out with a problem at that scale. First of all, I have seen that many of these B.Ed graduates being tossed between RCSE and education and not knowing what to do, and that declaration was made. Unfortunately, personally, what I felt was we have a separate ministry who is supposed to look into the matters of human resources, Ministry of Human Resource and MOLHR.
Yes, sir. Ministry of
Yes,
Labor
and Human Resources. I thought this ministry was supposed to plan about the human resources and bring about some projections, maybe capture control over what is accelerative thrust happening within the human resources, maybe recognize signs and symptoms of some of these problems well ahead of time. But unfortunately, that has not taken place, and which is as a result of which a few of the teacher graduates were rendered victims. As private school principal, we never had a luxury of having trained teachers, and over the years we have been grappling with difficulty not getting trained teachers, because until last year, in various conferences and meetings that I have attended in the capacity of education, the school principal, we have always talked about acute shortage of teachers. I fail to understand why suddenly there was a declaration that there's excess number of teachers. However, I would like to believe that there must be a reason, a genuine one, and which I don't want really mean to question. But what I mean to submit here is that those graduates could have been easily absorbed in the private schools.
Yes.
Unfortunately, what happened was prior information had not been given, and we did not get adequate information to recruit them. But few of the teacher graduates that we have been able to get, I'm quite amazed with the kind of motivation they already have and the kind of teacher graduates they are. I'm very, very amazed, and I'm tremendously thankful for having got few of them. Yes. And I remain hopeful.
So this declaration, in fact, came to private schools as a blessing in disguise.
Most definitely, and it could have come in a much better design had it come much earlier. And then if the private schools were informed much earlier about how things are going to be like. But we only opened the new academic session, and suddenly we know that so many teachers are also available to be recruited in private schools.
Yes.
However, we are very thankful that this has come about, and then it's really blessing in disguise for the private school. And I remain hopeful that the teacher graduates who are coming up now
yes.
Will remain very positive, that you need not really have to get recruited in the government. The private schools are equally good, and then the working conditions are equally pleasant.
Yes. So you mentioned that in the past you never had the luxury of recruiting trained teachers. That be the case, then were you initiating any internship programs, recruiting just fresh graduates, general graduates who never had any trainings in teaching profession?
I cannot speak on behalf of anybody else, but as far as Rinchen Higher Secondary Schools is concerned, we had no intern programs. We never had a single intern teachers.
Yes.
What we were doing, of course, and we are quite pleased. We were recruiting fresh graduates, no doubt. The first priority is we were trying to get experienced, trained teachers,
yes.
and having no luxury of getting those trained teachers, we landed up recruiting few teachers who are fresh graduates, and we have had programs where in-house training and very, very vigorous in-house training took place for the next few months, and then we made it a point that they are at least they have this basic standard to meet the criteria of being a classroom teacher. So it was very rigorous. But as I said, we never had a luxury of getting trained teachers. Forget about our private schools. Even the government schools were going through, grappling with inadequacy, acute shortage of teachers. That was what we discussed a few years ago, not very many years ago, just about a couple of years ago. So I think this is a new luxury that we are enjoying.
Yes, so just to ask A follow-up question on the same issue. I don't know how far this could be true. This could be a rumor as well. Because even for the media, gossip and rumor have actually been a major source of information. Keeping this in mind, what we have been told is that some private schools recruit fresh graduates as interns because you do not have to pay the amount that a trained teacher could be paid. You have certain schemes from the government through Ministry of Labour and Human Resources when you initiate this internship program, and the school management is required only to pay a lesser amount. And because a private school is established with the motive that you also do some business out of it, these things could be happening. Have you heard of it?
Oh well, if I tell you that I haven't heard, it may be lie. Definitely, I think this internship program and direct employment scheme that the Ministry of Labour and Human Resources have by way of economic stimulus plan. Maybe I think these are some of the things that has come about as something new.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if many private schools are aware about this availability, wherein they can save cost and major chunk of the cost can be borne by Ministry of Labour. Perhaps I think I see no reason why private schools should take advantage of this availability, because as you said, private schools are also partially business, and as much as possible, we could try and save cost and expenses. But from the education perspective, if this is happening, unconditionally and randomly, and with the aim to save expenses, perhaps I think this gives a reason why we should look at it analytically. The kind of candidates that you must be getting for intern, the kind of teacher candidates that you must be getting for direct employment scheme might be quite questionable, because you are trampling on the lives of many hundreds of children.
So you're basically saying that quality of education will be at stake.
Well, if you get wrong interns, wrong candidates for your interns, then it will definitely be at the cost of education.
Yes. One issue, we have had a series of discussions, debates last few years on the quality of education, and today some say quality is good, some say it's declining, some say it's just the same. And I have also asked this question in Zonka session as well. What would be your honest opinion, looking through the lens of a principal of a private school, where you take up those students who do not qualify for government schools?
Yes, thank you. The whole concept of education is getting reduced over the years to that industrial genius where we assemble mass of students like raw materials, and and then these assembled raw materials are being processed by the workers, and in school context they are teachers, and then these processing happens in a centrally located place like schools, and the schools operate like factories. I think it's true. The schools are increasingly becoming like machines, and of course like inordinately complex. There are indoor smoke, toils, crowded living, collective discipline, time is regulated by ringing bells. The whole concept of education is getting like industrial imagination. And yet for this rhetoric about the importance of education and the quality that you are talking about, we are also at the same time facing some backward and dying systems. the reason why I say this is because my personal experience with education and my association with education for the past 15-16 years have given me enough reason to state this. There is this illogical competitions everywhere.
Yes.
Very, very illogical competitions. You can imagine of any school situations. I will tell you with almost great degree of assurance that there will be nothing doing without competitions. Academics is getting competitive. Competitions. At the end of the academic session, there is an exam that somebody branded failed, somebody branded passed. The grading of first, second, third. Even the non-academics are getting very into mode of competitions, like scouts competition, the games and sports are competition, dances are competition. Now tell me one thing which is not competition in the school. And when education is operating at the mode of competition, the danger is there will be byproducts. The byproducts are as a result of which the schools would design ways to survive through the competitions. So that's why as a private school principal, and I have also heard some stories and legends going around, like some private school principals go head hunting for candidates. Moment that there is a declaration
Candidate
of
meaning students.
Students.
Yes.
The moment class 10 results are declared, the first, second, third, whole Bhutan, no matter where they are located, the principals go and grab them, even at the cost of paying them.
Providing
scholarships and
yes.
all favorable scenarios are created, and they are bought in from here. The parents are being I don't know, I remain to be corrected, but from what I have been hearing is, even the parents are paid stipends for sparing their children to be educated in your school. And it is because I need to protect my reputation, my
yes.
school's reputation. I need to my school needs to get into the top 10 positions. So when that happens, it is very sad. It's very sad, and some schools have become already achieved that indispensable positions where the admissions are very difficult. To get admitted in some schools are very, very difficult. Now, this is very disturbing trends. I don't talk about quality of education, but I think these are some of the things that we need to be alerted. We need to be very careful, and if we allow these trends to be growing, then it will pose another very, very big challenge for education.
Yes. Maybe a final question, sir. What about this infrastructure that the schools have? For instance, you talk about government schools, infrastructure meaning playground, facilities, hostel facilities, classrooms. Almost all the government schools are adequately established and furnished.
Yes.
What about the private schools? Playground, all the necessary facilities are at the disposal of the students.
Most definitely so. The very fact that the establishment of private schools is, at the mercy of the investment of the investors, the entrepreneurs, and apparently, when it is private individuals who are investing, it will come at a cost.
Yes.
I don't think there will be any private schools except for few where the investors are really huge, and maybe the investment must have been done quite adequately.
Yes.
Otherwise, since all of these infrastructure, as you said, the playground and all of these require massive investment, particularly if we are talking about a place like Thimphu, to have a playground, even to have one tiny basketball court is such a luxury, and it will come at a cost. Therefore, it will be very expensive. I'm sure the investors and the entrepreneurs, they will invest, but after the investment, they need a return. And
Yes.
if there's no return, I don't think anybody would invest. If you are looking for a school with all the infrastructure in place, then it will come definitely at a huge cost.
But is there a basic requirement specified by the Minister of Education?
Yes. Any private school to be established requires approval. And for the approval to be sanctioned by the private school division, they have this checklist of requirements. And until and unless this checklist are checked out, I don't think they will, any entrepreneurs or investors will be given a green signal to establish a school. So therefore, basic requirements need to be fulfilled. Otherwise, the establishment of private school will not be sanctioned.
So we see almost 30 odd private schools within the country.
Yes.
Any instances where you have seen that some of the basic requirements were not fulfilled?
I cannot really speak on behalf of any private school, but as I said, my association with education has been quite long, and my association with private school has also been not so bad. So this is my 6th year in the private school. So therefore, I have a rough opinion of how private schools operate. Some of the private schools have been doing extremely good. Particularly, I'm quite amazed with how some primary schools are operating, and with a lot of infrastructure in place, with a lot of facilities in place. But there are also private schools that needs to be tinkering a lot, where in terms of infrastructure. I would not be surprised if more and more private schools are encouraged. For a population like this, and for a country size like this, because there is this opportunity of business, profit making motive. If we allow private schools to operate, like in India, you will see that a school will be operating within one building.
Yes.
And downstairs there's bank, and upstairs there's a school, and right on the top there are canteens, and school is operational with that basic infrastructure. So if necessary interventions from the government is not put, then just because if we allow the education to be handled by the wrong people, the damage will be very, very far-reaching. There will be, I can see that danger, because what if there's one building right in the center of the town, maybe next to the bus station, and that's declared as school. That can be quite dangerous, and education can never happen in such a scenario. Of course, that there will be many other factors that will come into play.
Yes, sir. Tshering Dorji, the principal of Rinchen Higher Secondary School. Thank you so much for your time, Lasa.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Well, with this, we come to the end of Dawai Kudroen. Thank you so much for watching. Trishtale and good night.